Hi everyone, it's Mike here. So it's day 4 in my Lost Mojo Colour Therapy series. So we've done red, yellow and pink, so now we're going to be moving on to green. So as with previous days, I've gone through my supply drawers and pulled out all my different kind of resources for green. Now I've got some green-ish washi tapes. I've got, well, quite a few different types of green paint. I've got olive waistcoat from Indigo Blue as part of their Junk and Disorderly range. Also got their lime marmalade matte acrylic paint. And from the Reeves acrylic, we've got Viridian, which is a kind of nice, deep, almost bluey green, almost bordering on peacock. Pale olive, a really nice light green, and light green itself, which is a kind of grass green. And then from Dina Wakley, evergreen. So pens from my Faber-Castell Artist Pit Pens, the big brush Pit Pens, leaf green, May green, and permanent green olive. So they're nice kind of greeny colours there. Archival inks, another green washi tape. Archival inks, I've got leaf green. So, 3 days into this series now, and I've kind of gone through, like I said, the reds, the yellows, and the pinks, pink not being my favourite, but green being one of my most favourite colours. So I'm kind of going to be a little bit cheaty today, because whenever I work with green, I'm always inspired to do something. Thank you, Mr. Beale, with you in a second. I'm always inspired to do something kind of organic. Green being the colour of vegetation. It's one of the most calm colours there is. Green's a perfect colour to have in your bedroom because it's very, very restful, which is why hospitals and places like that have green walls most of the time. And also in theatres, when actors are waiting to go on stage, they wait in the green room. That's what it's called. So green is a very restful and calm colour because I think we have this affinity with nature. And of course green evokes all those different kind of feelings towards nature and being outdoors. So kind of a cheat today because I kind of know what I want to do, and I've had this kind of image in my head. I want to do some stripes, so I'm going to be doing some painted stripes using masking tape, and I've also got some stencils out that I want to play with. I want to add a little bit of typography in. I've got the Tim Holtz Flourish. Of course, you can't do an organic page without having some kind of organic kind of flourish. And I've got my Carnival 2 stencil, which is available on my website, shameless plug, because I just like this shape. Although it's a kind of circular one, this diamond pattern as well is very kind of mid-century modern, which is also very much all the rage at the moment. So I'm going to be using that too. So those are all my supplies. Let's get started. Okay, so I've already added some masking tape to my page because, you know, watching somebody stick tape down isn't exactly the most interesting thing to do, particularly when it's almost the same colour as the page. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop some splodges of dark paint. I'm going to just do alternates just on the page there, and I'm going to be using the Viridian to start off with. So that's that real nice kind of dark greeny colour from Reeves. I'm just going to go over the top. Obviously I'm going to leave the brush strokes in there because I want those to stay pretty much where they are. Now, I love this Viridian green. It's a really beautiful kind of deep shade of green, almost like a bottle green, but still maintains kind of a really nice integrity with the colour without being too overpowering. So I'm going to introduce that twice. And then on this side as well. I haven't gessoed the pages in case you're wondering. This is just going to go straight down onto the page without any gesso at all. And I'm actually going to, like I said, I'm going to leave those brush strokes exactly where they are. No messing. No trying to blend or disguise. Deeper colour out of the crevices. There. Okay, I'm going to wash that brush off. I'm going to bring out my heat gun, get that strip, or those two strips, dry, and then we can get cracking on adding some more colour. Okay, so next colour. I'm going to be using the Olive Waistcoat from Indigo Blue. Let's take some of that beautiful kind of green, and I'm going to go right the way through the middle. And like I said, no gesso at all on this one. This one's covering a little bit easier. Oh, and I've made a blob on there, look, let's get rid of that. Doesn't matter on the masking tape. Love this shade of green, but all shades of green work well together. Green is one of those colours that the human eye is more attuned to, and we can actually see more different variations in the colour green than any other colour. So if you imagine looking at a tree, if you couldn't see all the different variations in colour, you'd never be able to discern all the different shades there are in the leaves on a tree, particularly in midsummer. So let's do the bottom row. Excuse me. In the same. I adore this colour. I love this colour. Indigo Blue do some nice green colours. There's also one called Hunter Green, which I've run out of, which is a real nice dark green colour as well. Which with green always makes me think of Wellington boots, which is possibly why it's called Hunter Green. Okay, I'm not going to do that top row. I'm going to leave that a different colour. So let's get these two stripes dry. Okay, so that's the last bit of masking tape for there. So just towards the top up there, I think I'm going to add one more strip, just in line with the top of the paper. That'll do. Okay, so let's tuck that in. So let's get some of those other greens out. So this time I've got the acrylic, Reeves acrylic light green. So I'm going to put that, I think, there and there. And we'll also do it there and there. Click. So get my brush. Because this won't be an exact science, it never is. That's the fun about working in an art journal. And you could try and do stripes by hand if you're very, very brave. But considering how much coffee I've had today, not a good idea. Okay, so that is the Reeves light green. Let's get that dry. Ooh, back in shot. Okay, so next up, now that we've just done that light green, is the indigo blue lime marmalade, a nice bright green. And I'm going to do that on the remaining 2 stripes. That one across the middle. That's a real wowy colour, isn't it? You probably would be able to get away with using this one on the yellow page as well, actually. But love that colour. It's almost neon. Almost, but not quite neon. Love it. And I'm going to do the top bit here. That's just going to leave that top stripe, which I'm going to use the Dina Wakley Evergreen on. Now, as you can see, it's not covering that little piece of darkness in the corner there, which tells me that this paint isn't as opaque as I thought it was going to be. But that's fine. We'll see if we can try and give that a second coat before we finish, just to try and hide that. But I'm not particularly bothered if we don't manage to get that completely covered up. I just like the fact we've got such a brilliant variation in the green colours in those stripes. I'm loving the fact that that one's such a bright colour. Okay, what I'll do is I'll get these dried off and then I'll try and go back in and try and touch that one up a little bit. Actually, there's a bit more there as well. But hey ho, right, I'm not going to wash the brush off because I'll probably need it again. So let's get it dry and then I'll be right back. Okay, so before we go any further, we've got one more strip up at the top here. So I'm just going to peel that masking tape off. Just there, and I'm going to turn my art journal upside down and just grab some more masking tape, and this time I'm going to, I've just run out, got some more somewhere, there we go. So I'm going to just mask off now this lime green section where we've just painted try and get in. I did manage to cover most of that section that we were talking about a second ago, where it crept underneath, so that's good. There. Okay, so the last and final piece of the jigsaw as far as paint's concerned, we're going to use the Dina Wakley Evergreen now. I'm just going to put a few little drops there and there, and hopefully that should be enough just to finish off that top section. So this is kind of very similar to that light green from the Reeves acrylic. Similar colour by the looks of things, which is fine. You can't really expect every manufacturer to do a different shade. That would be expecting just a little bit too much. Of course, if I had some of the Tim Holtz distress paints, you'd have all those different colours to play with as well. The forest moss and pine needles and twisted citron and mowed lawn and lucky clover. All those, you could do that just with distress paints alone if you wanted. There's that many different shades. but I've consolidated and actually given a lot of my distress paints away because I don't really use them that often. I actually have a preference for the Dina Wakley paints. The Reeves ones I can no longer get hold of very easily because my local arts and crafts store have decided not to stock them anymore in favour of a really cheap and nasty brand which I don't like. So I'm going to be sticking with just one or two different brands in future. Maybe later on this year I might try some of the Deco Art paints, depending on how easy they are to get hold of, or even the Amsterdam paints. Who knows, we'll see. Okay, so that's dry. Let's remove the masking tape. So we'll get to see the final result for all of it now. And I am expecting just one or two small areas where we've missed. Like there, but that's fine. I do have contingency plans in place. The great reveal. Cool. As soon as I started thinking about doing a green page, my brain was telling me to do stripes. Don't know why. Perhaps it's just a hangover from Christmas and green tartans. Who can say? Ooh, look at that. Okay, so we've got, just make sure that the page is the right way up, yes. Okay, so we've got all sorts of different colours. So what I'm going to do now is put that paint to one side now, so we're done with the dye and Reevely. So I'm going to bring in these darker pip pens, and I'm actually going to start now to add some green between. Green between. This was my contingency plan, is to use the pip pens that are India ink, just to have a kind of diffusion between the two. So that will hide any kind of obvious lines. Now, some of these paints have covered better than others. Some have soaked into the paper, some haven't. Some have actually got a kind of plasticky feel to them. The Reeves ones are kind of shiny, whereas the indigo blue ones are really matte, which is interesting to say the least. I wonder if that's something to do with the amounts of binder that are in the paint. Who can say? But adding this extra line also gives you a few more kind of bits of depth. Yeah, that's pretty much just what I like. Yeah, like that a lot. So we've got some diffusion, some definitions between the lines. So now I can start to bring in some of the stenciling now. So I'm going to use the Flourish stencil from Tim Holtz with a little bit of that pale olive. So, what a mess. Right, so we need a palette. Let's bring that back in from a different day. Add some of the pale olive on it. And then let's get this cosmetic sponge loaded up. And then let's start to bring in some organics. Because this is going to be quite light. That's fine. It will blend and work its way through all the other colours, and it will react differently depending on what colour's underneath it, which will be interesting to see. When you have a pale colour like this, sometimes it's a good idea you can use a pale colour instead of white, because it's kind of light enough to have a contrast without being too stark. Some of the colours here, Mr. Bentley's shaking his head and his ears. You just woke up. Time to go for a WLK in a minute. Is it that time in the afternoon? I think that's a yes. Okay. So we've got some nice kind of organic-y shapes coming into the page. That's cool. I'm liking that, so I'm going to get that dry. And then I'm going to add in a little bit of washi tape here and there now. Okay, so next up, leaf green. And I'm going to bring in the Carnival stencil and start adding in some of that colour into it. Again, I'm going to be using a cosmetic sponge. Let's just get that loaded up, and then we can start adding in some of that colour. Let's just see how that works on the lighter colour. That's quite subtle, so I think what we'll do is we'll just concentrate on those. There we go. That's adding in a nice bit of contrast. Now then, let's see what it reacts like down here on that olive. Will we get enough subtle variation for our eyes to be able to pick it out? Yeah, just a little. Just a little. But that's still wet. I'm not sure that that's going to be the same when it dries. Interesting. Just get some more up here. yeah, it's working better on the lighter ones obviously, so there is a little bit of a subtle difference to it. I don't think it's going to work on these darker colours here, but let's just see. A little bit of a difference, but not a huge amount. Very subtle. Okay, so I think in that case I'm going to have to bring in a little bit of white to add in our typo text that I wanted to add onto there. So we're going to have to bring in just a touch Dina Wakley white. Bring my little palette back, and there goes the white on the floor. It's all good fun. Cosmetic sponge again. Really work it into the sponge, because this I think will stand out quite dramatically. Yeah, thought it might. Cool. I'm going lighter in certain areas. And then where it's really, really dark, I don't really need to add on a lot of the white for it to stand out, because obviously the background is a lot darker. Yeah, me likey. Okay, once again I need to get it dry and then I'll be back. Okay, now that that's pretty much dry, I want to bring in some of this washi tape. I don't think I'm going to use every single bit or every single design. I don't think some of these are going to work that well, but I'm going to continue with that horizontal theme, and I'm just going to add just a few pieces. And then this one, which is going to, it's kind of got a green back, but it's also got some map kind of bits on it, so it's kind of earthy as well. There's a little bit of bling attached to it, but that's okay. And then the last one is just going to be this dark one with the stars on. If I can locate the end, there it is. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. And the final bit, if you can find the end again. You would have thought it'd be so difficult, wouldn't you? Patterns all merge. There it is. Cool. Okay. So what next? Now we're at this stage, I want to introduce some kind of like graphical elements to it. I've got the Dina Wakley Moon Face stencil, which I want to add just a couple of them. In fact, I might even just add all three over the top. How I'm going to do that is I'm going to add them in black paint. So obviously white we've used, black is okay because it is a non-colour, so we're still okay to do that on top of the green. So I'm just going to grab some Dina Wakley black gesso, and I'm going to load up this sponge. Just grab my palette and just work the paint into the sponge. That should do. And then I'm going to go over the top of the stencil. Careful now not to smudge and make sure I get everywhere within that stencil, which is quite difficult to do. Make sure we don't load everything up too much and then miss bits out. Now, because we've got kind of a busy background, then these black kind of shapes, I'm hoping, don't stand out too much. I want them to be there, but I don't want them to be really in your face. Subtle, but not quite so subtle, if you get me. Which not many people do, but hey ho. Okay. Yes. Perfect. And then what I want to do is I want to add one more just here. I'm going to use this one again. Out there. So just grab some more black paint, just load up. And then just off we go once more. This is the one I'm going to use for anchoring my first word, my phrase for this page. Okay, that should be enough. So I will peel that off there. That's it, perfect. Okay, I'm going to get the heat gun on that now, and I'll be back once those faces are dry. Okay, so the moon faces are nice and dry and have kind of started to blend into the background, which is fine, what I kind of wanted. So my quote for the page is, "Green is for getting lost and finding yourself," because we can all get lost in nature, which is brilliant. Okay, so I've printed these out as I have done on previous days on sticker paper. So I'm going to just peel the back off, stick that down. Don't particularly want to go over the top with any kind of matte medium or anything. I can do if I want to, but these stickers seem to be holding quite well, so I don't really think I need to. If they do start to peel off, I can always do that at a later date, in a month or two maybe. Okay, so the final bit, add that to the page, and then I've got my Stabilo All pencil here, so I'm just going to add a little bit. I could just use a black pen, or I could use a pencil just to kind of give it a little bit of pop and kind of add in that kind of balance with the other black, just to finish off. And I could of course activate this with a water brush, because it is water soluble. In fact, I might actually do that, because I haven't actually done that with any of these pages so far. So I might just do that now. Kind of blend it into the page a bit. Of course, the writing is in green as well, which is in keeping with everything else. So water brush, let's just get a little bit of water on there. And that just helps to diffuse it a little bit. Yeah, kind of helps just to blend it a little bit. A little bit more water, and it just lifts a little bit of it off. Like that a lot. Okay, so final touch then is sign it and date it. And then that is my art journal page for the colour green. So, hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, please remember to give it a thumbs up, share the video with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, then what are you waiting for? And don't forget to click the bell icon to get notifications of new uploads from me whenever I put a new video up, which will be, in this case, tomorrow, because we're going to be doing orange. It's all from me for now. I will see you all again very, very soon. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. Thank you.